Coronation Fund Managers is a Cape Town-based asset manager, market cap of 23.7 billion rand, PE of 15.5, dividend yield 6.4%. Share price graph, let's get it up straight away.
This one has been down from where it was, although it has tracked sideways for the last year.
Heavily down. Look, I mean...
Heavily down, exactly, almost halved from its peak there.
So we were speaking about active versus passive, so Coronation is definitely your active asset manager. In fact, they've done incredibly well, and they always tell you every time they release results, this is how well we've done since 93, 94, 98, the year 2000. So active has actually done incredibly well over the long term, and that's where I'm biased. I really believe in active management if you are a long-term investor. Passive management can work very well in the short term. So if you have a very difficult market like we're doing now, and you're not picking stocks, you are just following an index, you will probably outperform your passive management. But the issue with Coronation is that they have really lost assets under management. You're talking about 10% of their book over the last 2 years, and they're seeing these big outflows. And obviously if you're seeing outflows, that's your revenue base that's getting eaten away, and that's why the share price has come down substantially. But what is interesting is the feeling I have, and reading a bit of the research and chatting to a couple of guys, it looks like that's slowing down. They've also opened some of their funds again. A lot of their funds were closed off to institutional investors.
Because they were actually just had too much.
They had too much. I think they've got into a stage now where, actually we shouldn't close these anymore. We should open them up for new investors and hopefully get our assets under management up again. That'll help improve revenue. And you could see the stock start ticking upwards again. From Coronation's perspective, it's really about if you believe in the active management teams. So far, it's been good in the long term. It's not been so good in the short term. And if you believe they can really start ticking up those assets under management.
So do you hold this asset management team above other asset management teams when it comes to your regard for them?
Although the trouble with the South African market is it's tended to be like you win if you're in the right part of it at any given moment, like resources or healthcare or consumer, but not all at the same time. Very tough to actually get it right. They had some really great years for about a decade, and that's where the run came. The other thing about the local asset managers is what about the flood into offshore investment products? Because a lot of investors, whether they're institutional or private, are saying, I want to be outside of South Africa because I'm concerned about politics and I'm concerned about the rand. What some of these locals do is they set up offshore operations, or they try to do an asset swap type thing. But I think a lot of the real money is going directly out into foreign asset service providers, which is also cause for concern.
Absolutely. So you're following so a lot of the offerings are a passive offering where you go indirectly. Looking at those asset managers that can offer you a direct approach is certainly what's piquing a lot of private investors' interests, as well as some of the retirement money that you're allowed to take over and some of the institutional money. A lot of these guys don't actually offer that. It's very interesting. Some of the smaller guys that we might be talking about now do offer that as an option, and that's where you might see some interesting growth.
Nick, I'm going to hang my hat on the terminology that you used earlier, and that was potentially we can see this one trickling up again.
Yes,
for me that doesn't sound like an exciting investment opportunity.
No, it's not. So Coronation needs to prove itself. Can they get those assets under management up again? And with the opening of some of their funds to institutional investors, will those institutional investors put them there? And the past is the past. You might have done well 20 years ago, but can you do well in the next 5 years with regards to your active management,
And performance-based fees were there in the run-up, and now they're not. Now we're talking sort of baseline, sort of basic type stuff.
Are we hot?
I'm going to go not hot on this one still, I'm afraid. I think there's more heavy sledding to come, given how weak the local market has been.
I agree with Paul. I'm also not hot on this one either.